Here's what's coming up in episode 156, Haunted Castle House, Part 1.
Arrive at Hilton St. Louis Frontenac.
Okay, now I have to figure out how to unlock my doors. Are you ready to go?
Yes, go!
All right, I guess we need to load your stuff up.
And so when I wake up the next morning, I think, I'm as weak-minded as everybody else. Because I'd always said, if you believe in ghosts as an adult, you're either weak-minded, attention-seeking, you're on drugs, you're drinking, you're delusional.
When did this change? What year is this now?
This was in 2012.
Oh, this is more recent. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, May 24, 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember many dates exactly, but this
That's
was burned in my
amazing.
mind.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
When we saw that, I think we all screamed.
Yeah,
like
we did.
all of us in the
Is that when you change your paradigm too at the
Mm-hmm.
same time? You
Yeah.
both made a paradigm shift. Well, the reason why I asked you guys these questions, I sat down at the board and I said, do you have a message for the Skinners, or do you have a message that you just want me to talk to them about the house?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we want you to tell them something, so they have a kind of a message for you.
Welcome to the Big Seance Podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
Well, hello there. It's been a while since I've taken you on a field trip in the car, so I thought I'd take you with me to the Haunted Castle House in Brumley, Missouri. And on our way, why don't we pick up Karen A. Dahlman? Doesn't that sound fun? Of course, because you're incredibly smart. You know that this trip already happened, and it was simply delightful and an experience I'll never forget. Karen and I were invited by the owners of the Haunted Castle House, who are big Paranerds and listeners of the podcast. I'm talking about Steve and Judy Skinner. So a big thank you goes out to them. It was like a paranormal vacation, and I know that Karen and I made two great friends. This episode is just part 1, though. Part 2 will present some more highlights of our visit, including experiments, some Ouija sessions, and possible evidence of communication. And there'll be a little sneak peek at the end of this episode. But before we jump back in the car, this is usually where I tell you what I'm drinking. Well, guess what? Steve and Judy covered that for me on this trip because they had a lovely display of Nuwati Herbals tea in the kitchen, and Christmas tea was served each night that we were there while we told stories. Nuwati Herbals is, of course, the sponsor of today's episode, so I wanted to tell you about one of the teas the Skinners had at the house that I haven't had yet, but it sounds interesting. They had Thunderheart tea, so I jumped onto their site, nuwatiherbals.com, and searched it up. This tea supports healthy hearts. As the thunder beats in the sky, so should the strong heart of every warrior. It's very important to eat a heart-healthy diet, exercise regularly, and maintain a proper weight. I also see that it was apparently voted first runner-up for Best New Product at the COVR at the International New Age Trade Show in Denver, Colorado in 2014. Some of the ingredients include hibiscus flowers, faux tea root, hawthorn leaf and flower, rosemary leaf, bilberries, ginger root, grapeseed extract, hawthorn berries, marigold flowers, motherwort, oat straw leaf, Solomon's seal root, astragalus root, and the list goes on. This one might just be the next one on my list to try. Well, stay tuned because a little later in the show, I'll share more about Nuwati Herbals and how you can get 15% off your order at nuwatiherbals.com. And I'll give you a little hint. Use code BIGSEANCE. Well, today, pour your tea in a to-go cup because we're jumping back in the car and you're about to hear me get very excited.
Turn right onto Clayton Road.
Oh my
then
gosh,
turn right into the
guys.
parking lot.
I already see Karen.
In 450 feet, arrive at Hilton St. Louis Frontenac.
Okay, now I have to figure out how to unlock my doors.
You didn't lock me out?
Hey!
Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so much
Are
fun.
you excited?
I got my Ouija boards with me.
Oh my
Listen,
gosh.
you've got all your electronic gadgets.
I
so
do, and
I have
I've been-
my old stuff.
Charging batteries and
Are we ready?
practicing. And guess what? I'm hungry too.
I am so freaking hungry, you guys.
Are you ready to go?
Yes, go.
All right, I
Okay,
guess we need to load your stuff up.
Hey! Karen and I are on our road trip. I don't know where she's at. I can't find her. We just saw this cemetery on the way and we got so excited. She made me stop and she was out of the car so fast that I couldn't find her. It's really kind of cool. It's a beautiful day. Oh, and look, it's Karen behind a
You
headstone.
guys, isn't this beautiful? Look at this. But this is a public cemetery in Vienna. We're not telling you where we're going yet, but this is one of our stops.
It's a little teaser.
But we did have to take a pee stop, too. So that was at a truck stop or something, right? Stuckey's, I don't know what it was.
It was, yeah, this is a little bit of Missouri action for a little countrified Missouri action.
I love
for
it.
Karen.
It's so nice. And you know what?
You said it was
That's
reminding you of Texas a little
yeah, Texas Hill Country's like
bit.
this.
As soon as we drove by, we both saw it and we're like, and Karen said, "Oh my God, can we stop? Do we have time to stop?" So I told her we're the only nerds who would stop and see an old cemetery in the middle of Missouri and get out and like celebrate and enjoy it and love it so much.
And laugh.
Yeah, and laugh. We'll eventually.
Hi,
tell you
Paul.
where
Hi,
we are.
Susan.
We'll eventually tell them where we are, right?
Yeah, we will. We'll tell you maybe after we get there.
Okay.
Be ready for the investigation tonight.
So Karen and I made it to the house. We spend hours getting to know the Skinners and getting a tour of the place. Then we did a Facebook Live that I hoped to include in this episode, but it ended up just not being very good for an audio podcast, and the Wi-Fi wasn't great. But please do check out the 2 videos I put together from our visit. I'll link those in the show notes. Karen and I took tons of video. So go there if you want the whole visual tour. So before we hear from the Skinners, here's just some of the history of the haunted castle house and the property around it, which can be found in a handy little pamphlet inside their home. Both the house and the property have a very interesting and at times tragic history. The castle house has seen not only the death of patients within its walls, but also the death of at least 5 of its owners and several children. 3 physicians saw their patients on this land, 2 in the current home, and at least 1, Dr. Connor, prepared bodies here. Patients infected by the following epidemics were treated here: influenza of 1936, scarlet fever of 1936, which Dr. Jones contracted himself, and polio in 1946. And Reverend Macomb served in Company D of the Union Army from June to December of 1861. The Native American site, Bone Cave, is around 3 miles from the property. In July 1971, there was a murder-suicide in which the husband killed his wife, then himself, around 500 yards from the property. There are 2 reported graveyards in the backyard behind the castle house, one a pioneer graveyard and the other a mass grave. Something else you'll want to know is that a few years ago, the house was featured in an episode of The Dead Files on the Travel Channel, and you can actually watch that episode if you visit their site, which is hauntedcastlehouse.com. This episode was filmed before Steve and Judy took ownership of the house. The Dead Files also features the previous owners of the house. And this brings me to a conversation from our visit that I want to share with you. As we sat in the back room and patio of the cozy castle house with some tea, Steve told us a story of one of the haunting experiences the previous owners had.
Well, this was really Nick and Marcy, the people that first had it, Nick and Marcy, when they were on the Dead Files show. Marcy just was not going to come in, not going to ever come back in this house again. And Nick could keep it if he wanted, but she just absolutely not going to be a part of it. But never said why. So after we bought the place, we got to meet them. We went out to eat with them and got to talking. And she was very outgoing and extroverted and really energetic in her discussions. And she talked about they would hear furniture moving, or they would actually see it get moved.
That's cool.
And so that never bothered her. And she thought there was like a soldier that followed her wherever she went. That didn't bother her. But she said the thing that did, because we asked her, we said, I got to ask, you don't have to answer, but what was it that scared you so bad you didn't want to go back in? And she said, well, Nick and her were in the apartment that across, where we're at.
Where you are.
And said, we're both heart patients. We both, watch out for each other. And he said he was going to get up and go to the kitchen and get something to drink. And it was taking a little longer than I thought it should. So I get up to see what's going on. And as I'm walking past the bathroom that y'all have seen, she said, I see him standing there in front of the mirror looking at himself. And I think that's kind of odd, but I go on and think I'm going to get something to drink. And so as I'm going to the kitchen, I run the corner and I run into Nick. And I'm like, how did you do that? And he said, do what? And she said, well, you were just in the bathroom. And he said, no, I wasn't.
So he's bilocating.
So she said that totally freaked her out, and that's what drove her out of the house. She said, I just couldn't deal with that.
I'm going more with what the guys were saying. I think you have an energy system here that allows you just to move into other realms, other dimensions. Seriously, because that right there, that's actually bilocation.
So instead of being a doppelganger,
doppelganger, you be somebody that looks like you.
Right. But bilocation, you're in two spots
at the same time.
Okay.
And a lot of the Hindus, the sages of the Middle East or Far East, talked about being a bilocate. And by the way, alchemists used to bilocate. Like Saint Germain was one of them. Francis Bacon. There was all these people that they said they would be at two places at the same time. People go, I get counsel here.
Could you remote view yourself?
Yes, you could. Why could you not? Why could you not? I mean, the possibilities are endless here when you start talking these things. And then when you start talking to people and you hear this stuff, and then you hear it's happening throughout all these different cultures, this kind of concept.
Now skip to a few hours and a couple hundred stories later that first evening. You'll need a little background on Steve and Judy. Not long ago, they were pretty big skeptics, particularly Steve. Skeptic with a capital S. I've been in communication with Steve for a few years now, and so I knew of his journey into the paranormal. In this clip, you'll hear just a few of the experiences that turned them into believers. Even though, like me, they still hold on to some skepticism, but now they're open to learning and the possibilities that are out there. And it's this journey that led them to purchasing the haunted castle house. You'll hear more about that a little later. Oh, and at this point, we were having snacks while we talked, so I hope you don't mind some paranerds chewing and a bit of talking with mouths full.
We go to the Crescent, and I've got my oldest daughter Brooke is with me, and then Judy and David were there. That was all on the first trip. So we go there, and we do the tour, and we're going to stay for 2 nights. And the tour was pretty interesting. The guy had, his little EMF recorder that went off a few times, and thinking, that's probably all staged. And they talked about there's a place you could smell cherry cigar smoke, and we smelled it, but they could pump that in. There's no big deal.
Sure.
And so Brooke wanders off, and she comes back in just a little bit, and she says she got an EVP on her iPhone. She was recording, and she, it sounds like a little boy saying jinx, and she said there were no little boys around. And so you can clearly hear a voice say jinx, but I'm thinking it could have been in the room, could have been on TV. There's just no way you could say that's legitimate without knowing that hotel was empty. And so I said, that's neat, but I just don't know. So we go to bed that night, and I've got a recorder running. It's going to film all night, and Brooke's in the bed over here. There's a little table, and there's myself here, and then there's the door to get out of the place. That night I woke up 3 times. Twice it was like chains jingling, and once perfume got squirted up my right nostril. And so when I wake up the next morning, I think, I'm as weak-minded as everybody else. Because I'd always said, if you believe in ghosts as an adult, you're either weak-minded, attention-seeking, you're on drugs, you're drinking, you're delusional.
When did this change? What year is this now?
This was in 2012.
Oh, this is more recent. Okay, okay.
Yeah, May 24, 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember many dates exactly, but this
That's
was burning
amazing.
my mind.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
And,
It is.
Yeah, because it was 100%, 180-degree paradigm shift. I mean, it went from this cannot be possible. I know there's always a way to explain it to like, what I said was, oh, it's real.
Yeah.
That's going to be our slogan. Is so anyway, with the video, I thought, well, let me watch the video because, maybe something happened, but maybe I'm just, was so worked up, I imagined it. Watch the video, and you hear what sounds like chains jingling. You see me set up, looking around. Brooke doesn't move. She's deaf to the world. And then when the perfume goes on, you see me digging at one nostril, and I sit up and I look over to see if she got up and came over and did something, and, no movement. And I dig at it a couple more times and keep looking. And then I go back to sleep. And
That's pretty dark in the room, though, right?
Pretty dark. I've got an infrared camera. This is one of those old Sony infrareds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what everybody used to use in the day.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's funny because I've got that camera for the kids, not knowing it was infrared, 4 or 5 years before, and nobody had used it the last couple of years, so I grabbed it the last minute, and it got some neat stuff. Well, then the thing that was the biggest of all to me, for about 30 minutes, my legs are out from under the cover. I'm kind of rolled over on my side, and the right leg goes up a little bit and down, and like this and down, but it's not kicking or flailing. It's subtle little movements. And then and Judy's the one that noticed it on the TV screen as we're watching it. It looks like a little black skeleton finger touches my heel.
Oh, geez, I get chills.
I could not get a sentence out. I'm like, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
So, like when you're sleeping, you're moving, trying to moving away from it, but you can see something on the screen, touching
on the screen. Just one time, you see it moving for half an hour and nothing. But one time, and I'll show you the video. I don't know of any way to interpret it other than that. There may be. Everybody I see says, oh, wow, that looks like a little finger touching. So I'm thinking, crap, I've got all these people I got to apologize to because I've been just so obnoxious about this.
And that moment is just burned into my head when we had it on the TV screen. He was like, I heard all this, and so I'm watching the video, and I see, we get up, and so we can hear the chains jingling, and then when we saw that, I think we all screamed, all of us in the room.
Is that when you change your paradigm too at the same time? You both made a paradigm shift.
And that's crazy because
that's really cool.
Most people don't see video evidence. Video evidence is way less.
Well, this gets even better.
Frequent, you know?
Yeah, this gets even better.
Okay, I have to break in here because Karen and I saw this video. It is truly one of the creepiest pieces of evidence I've ever seen. And between that and some EVP samples that they shared with us, Karen was truly creeped out, as you'll see if you watch the video, but it freaked me out too. I think she slept with all the lights on that night, and this was after she bragged about wanting the most haunted room. Okay, back to the story.
So after, we were only there 2 nights, that was the first night, so then we were like, okay, well, we're going to put a camera, we're going to have it running in our bedroom too while we're asleep, and so we did. And you did it again, and you moved it a little bit. And is that when you had the recorder in the floor?
Yeah, the next night, I think, I've got to get my feet out from under the covers and sleep. I can't do this. I got to do it. I can't do it. Got to do it. So I finally get everything in position, and I think, I'm going to do this. I want to know. So I put the camera, I turned it just a tiny bit, because it looks like that little finger comes from out behind the wall.
Okay.
So I moved it to where you could see the most you possibly could if something comes there. It's plugged in, so it should run all night. Plenty of memory. And there's a recessed area coming from another direction, 90 degrees of that I set another camera in that should run all night. And I lay my iPhone next to the bed.
Okay.
Finally fall asleep, wake up the next morning, nothing had happened. So I get up and I turn on the first recorder, start watching it. 1 o'clock, it shuts off. Should have run all night. I don't know why, but it shuts off. Go to the next one, 1 o'clock, it shuts off. On my cell phone, that same time, you hear a man say something. No, you hear a baby coo, then you hear a man say something, then you hear a woman say, turn it off.
What?
And then about 20 minutes later...
I just got chills from my whole body again.
And then about 20 minutes later, you hear what we call the growl. And neither Brooke or I heard this. And so
he's
when I was
a very
listening
light
to
sleeper. Like, he will wake up with just the slightest noise. So for him this did not wake him up.
And when I snore, sometimes on an oscilloscope, there'll be this little wavelength about this tall. Well, this thing's kind of 4 times bigger. And I've got it, I'll play for y'all. It sounds like... just this terribly loud growl. And neither of us heard it. And the night that I heard this, we were back in town, and I was in my office late at night. It's about 11 o'clock. Nobody's there. I've got the thing running in the background while I'm trying to work to see. And when I heard that, I just shut everything down. I went home. I called Brooke up. I said, I'm going to send you a tape. I want you to listen to it and see what you think. And I sent her a little clip of it. She called me right back. She said, we burn everything. We never talk about this. This never happened.
Everybody wants to burn everything.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Judy,
So we, wake up the next morning and we don't think anything's happened, so we pack everything up and we drive back, to Alabama. And so we're watching the tape and we see on our camera it goes kind of in and out of focus a little bit. And I had left the TV on because I wanted some kind of light. I didn't want to be in the dark. So you can kind of see, the light from the TV changing a little bit. But then you see, and I don't really know how to explain it. It looks like a white sheet next to the bed kind of going up and down. But you can see the sheets on the bed are not moving. It's just right next to it. And then it looks like a head laying down.
What?
yeah, even pulling the covers up.
Yeah. It is so crazy because you can see both of us in the room, in the bed.
But
we're
like
not
next
moving.
to you.
And it looks like it's right next to the bed, it looks like.
Yeah, it's like they're on one side of the bed and this is on the other side of the bed.
Oh my
And
God.
the girl coming into the room is...
And it's very clear. You can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, again, we'll show you.
We'll show-
Yeah.
And so after that, I was like so scared. I would not go anywhere in the
That
house
is
at
that was a
night.
little scary. Yeah, that seems
Because it's like, how could this be like a whole new world?
Right, because you
And I
never believed. You weren't open to it. Or it probably didn't dawn on you to think about it, right?
I never did.
And the story that
so
was
crazy.
told about that room is it was real close to this rail that a little kid fell off from the fourth floor and died. And so we got to know all the people there pretty well. And they said, oh, yeah, lots of people say they feel something getting into bed with them. But, I mean, if you look at this one, too, you'll say either y'all are faking this or there's a third person. I mean, there's not pixelation or you're matrixing or anything. I mean, there's three now. And, because we did it, it's nice because I know that, first off, I don't know how to fake anything.
Well, what made you guys go to the Crescent? What made you go there? I mean, did you watch these ghost shows or what
You were
made you...
clearly interested before you
No, the thing that
got open to it.
Right.
No.
No?
I wasn't
So what were you
interested.
doing there?
Trying to shut my daughter up. My daughter...
Oh,
was
she's
convinced
the one
our
that
house-
brought you there.
Yeah, she was convinced our house was haunted.
Okay.
And, with kids, they go through different phases, and my patience would vary with different phases. And so she's just as absolutely convinced that our house is haunted. We're the second people that lived in it. It was a
I
big
agree
house.
with her,
It was
by the way.
built,
Oh.
really crappy. It creaked and popped and settled. And so there's a lot of sounds that it made because it just wasn't made well. So I'd have to do damage control with all the time about, you're not really hearing footsteps, you're not this, you're not that. So finally I got tired. I said, well, let's just go to a haunted hotel. We'll find the most haunted hotel in America.
Okay.
So I get online. I start thinking, exactly.
Karma, yes.
With a sledgehammer. So everything kept listening to Crescent, and I thought, that's not a bad drive, pretty little town. We'll just go there and see. And so it totally made me...
Because even before this happened, because I didn't believe, but I would get freaked out in that house because I would be there by myself and I would hear what sounded like footsteps coming down the stairs.
Seriously?
And I
in the house where you guys live now?
No, it was his previous house.
Oh, before, okay.
Yeah. And there would be nobody there. And then one time I was there and I was in the kitchen and the kids were at school and I was washing dishes and there was like two doorways into the kitchen and this one kind of beside me, it sounded like a man yelled, "Hey!" like really loud, and I turned around during the day, and I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna leave."
See, I think I would have thought that it's an intruder.
Yes, well,
A person intruder.
I thought that when I'd hear footsteps sometimes, and I thought his son was home one time. I was in the one bedroom, and I heard what sounded like footsteps upstairs, and I was like, "That's weird," because Michael normally comes in and says, "Hey, I'm home," because that was his bedroom upstairs, and he didn't do that. So I texted him and I was like, "Hey, are you home?" And he texts back, "No, but I'm on my way." And I'm like,
who's in the house?
"Yes." And I thought someone had broken in.
Yep.
That's when you
And that's
me.
when I called you and you said, "Try to record it," because it was really loud footsteps. It wasn't just. So I had my phone, and so I'm like holding it up to the ceiling, and I'm trying to record it. Yeah,
Was
you
this
could hear
before
it.
you believed though?
Yeah,
Oh.
before. So I really thought I locked the bedroom door. I put a chair in front of it because I really thought someone had
Oh, I would
broken
have been
in.
scared too.
And I called my son. I said, "Michael, Judy's really scared." I said, "Now, if you're pranking her, this is hilarious. You're not in any trouble at all." She's scared.
Yeah.
She's going to call the police.
Yeah.
She's going to call the police.
You're not in trouble.
I I just need to know. She said, Dad, I'm not home. I'm over here.
That's great.
Yeah, I should have lived that. Like, they do play pranks on each other a lot. So I thought,
Pranking is very
I
common.
thought, is he lying? Is he really upstairs?
So your whole family's doing this now. Is that what the deal is? Everybody's doing this?
Well,
pretty much except for
the boys.
the
It's funny
youngest.
because the girls just dove in head first.
You have 2 girls, 2 boys?
2 girls and 2 boys. The boys are 20 and 25, and the girls are 22 and 24.
Okay.
Girls will go any place. They're fearless. They we've been Waverly, Bobby Mackey, Crescent, all these different, have been Stanley and all this, and they'll stay in room by themselves. They'll go walking off by themselves. They're just they love it. My 2 boys are like, you have lost your ever-loving mind. We finally got the oldest to go, and he had a good time. We went to the Drish House in Montgomery, Alabama, or close to Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa.
Be back in a second.
You're listening to the Big Seance Podcast with Patrick Keller. Be sure to check out BigSeance.com for more discussion.
This episode of the Big Seance Podcast has been sponsored by Nuwati Herbals, a family-owned business operated in the St. Louis, Missouri area since 2002. The Cherokee people have a word for universal energy. That word is Nuwati. Rod Jackson is the founder of Nuwati and has personally developed their products from recipes influenced by his Cherokee ancestors. The Nuwati line consists of natural herbal products designed to actually do something. They promote healing, healthy skin, relaxation, and energy. They produce 4 lead product lines: herbal teas, herbal bath salts and scrubs, herbal bath bags, and herbal balms and body oils. They also have soaps, natural insect repellent, and a line of pet products. Nuwati has been featured at numerous red carpet events at the Grammy Awards, the Teen Choice Awards, the Oscars, the Emmys, and the Screen Actors Guild Annual Health Fair. Visit nuwatiherbals.com and use code BIGSEANCE, all one word, to receive 15% off your Nuwati Herbals order as a thank you. Again, that's nuwatiherbals.com, and Nuwati is Nuwati.
Thanks for joining us for the Big Seance Podcast. We'd better get back to the table while there's still some candlelight left.
There's nothing you would account for that as other than just, like
So you guys have been doing this for about 7 years now, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. So what's your take on all this? Do you think what would you attribute it to is what I'm trying to say? What's your threshold of how far do you go with this information? Like, do you stop and say it's a ghost? Do you go further? What do you guys think?
You want to lead or you want me to?
You can.
Okay. Well, my background, I'm a conservative Christian, grew up very conservative, and everything's biased with that to some degree. And with my Christian walk, I still take it very, very seriously. But I like to think I'm maybe seeing it in a more accurate light instead of it's a dogmatic thing this way. So for me to believe, in spiritual realms is very natural that there is. And when I read through, the Bible about what happens when you die, there's references like in Revelations where the souls of the martyrs are under the throne of God crying out, how much longer? There's where Paul says the dead in Christ will rise first. There's things where Paul talks about, the ones who've gone before are just sleeping and you can pray for the dead. There's passages where Christ goes down to free the captives when he was crucified. So there's things that suggest that you could be right in heaven, like the thief on the cross. He said, you'll be with me in heaven tonight. But there's things that seem like maybe we hang around and the Catholics throw in limbo and things. So I don't think there's any clear-cut answer from a biblical perspective. So to me, they just says that's not that terribly important. And then you look at the demonic part. I've got very conservative Christian friends say everything's either a demon or your imagination. There's nothing in between. And then I talk to people who are Buddhist or New Age or don't have any thoughts, and I say, no, it's multiverses, or it has something to do with quantum physics, that we've got 13 dimensions, and that what you're really doing is there's these frequencies that are all around, and we just don't have the receptors to pick up on those. And so it's not really something supernatural. It's just a natural phenomenon that we haven't been able to measure or detect because it's like the sound waves. You don't see them, but they're there. And, you know, if you gave somebody a cell phone 200 years ago, they think you were a magician. And so maybe it's all explainable. So I think all the things I've heard make some sense, and there's some reason or rationale behind it, but none of them explain things perfectly. Mm-hmm. So I guess at the end of the day, I think that some of the things we've experienced very well could be the residual that people talk about, the stone tape and all that. Because I can definitely see that playing over the same time. But a lot of stuff we seem to interact with. And so I think there probably are some episodes, things that I've had happen in my life where it's like a deceased relative, has made a contact for a reason, or a living one. I had something happen with my mom one time that I just got this urgency. I needed to pray for her real quick. She was flying to in San Antonio, and I've never had that happen. I was driving, I almost pulled over because it hit me so hard. And when I picked her up that day, she said, "Oh my gosh, worst flight ever." She said at 1:00, we thought we were going down, and never happened before, happened since. So I'm pretty open to everything about, what could be going on. I do think there's a conscious existence beyond this world. One day I try to get my doctor box and put it all in there, and one day I get my grown-up box and put it there, and then another day I'm like, I don't know, I'm just having fun looking into it. But,
what denomination did you?
I grew up Church of Christ, and then when I got to college, in the Church of Christ that I grew up in, apparently there's two different branches. There was one so conservative that you could do next to nothing. The other,
no music, and
no dancing, no drinking, all that. Yeah.
But even within it, there's one that's even more conservative than that. Like the only thing money can be used for is the pastor's salary and for the building. You can't give to charity or anything. But I grew up in the slightly less conservative. We still knew everybody else was going to hell. But
right.
And I can remember. I mean, that's truly what was taught.
Yeah.
And I can remember thinking, well, I've got a grandfather that's a Catholic, a grandmother's Episcopalian.
And they're going to hell, yeah.
Yeah, I've got all these, friends that are different things. And so when I went to college, I visited every different denomination. I talked to people from different religions. I actually held little discussions in our dorm. Anybody that would come trying to say, tell us about your beliefs on things. And my best friend was Buddhist for the longest time. He was a Vietnamese refugee that came over that was kind of a neat guy. But so I kind of broadened out my view on things. I still hold to a conservative perspective on it, but a lot less narrow-minded than it was at one point in time. And
you're on this journey of learning. That's what I love right
now.
Well, and I'm very blessed to have somebody wonderful to journey with, because, Judy has got wonderful insight into things and very open-minded and very long-suffering with my little crazy adventures that I go on. And so,
so tell us about where you come from with this threshold or parameters of what you think.
Yeah, I grew up Baptist, Southern Baptist.
I was going to say that, yeah. See?
And this was never really talked about, growing up. My family, nobody ever mentioned ghosts or, that was just something on TV. It wasn't real. And so I always believed in angels. I knew that realm was out there, but the ghost thing, it just wasn't even a topic of conversation, I guess. And then, when all this started happening, that completely opened. That's why I said it was like a whole new world. It's like, so there's all this stuff going on that, on another dimension. And even after we went to the Crescent and all that happened, and just reading the Bible, certain things would have a different meaning then. But so it just made me more aware that there's other things going on in a spiritual realm that I had no idea was going on. And so that makes sense that and then I watched the series Fringe, where it had the alternate universe. And then I got to thinking about, what if that's a possibility, and we're just seeing little glimpses into another reality or something. So anyway, it just, I guess I would say, it just opens up more questions. I haven't, it's kind of like the more answers you get, the more questions you have.
Yes.
I guess so.
The crystal path for you.
Oh yeah, and I've gotten into that recently.
Crystals?
Yes, crystals.
Love them, yes.
And it's just really fascinating. It was.
Ask you guys these questions. I sat down at the board. Was it Sunday? What is today? Friday. So it was Sunday. I sat on the board with Rodney. We hadn't used the Ouija board. I was telling him in about 6 weeks. And I wanted to speak to the guides. So I don't know if you know my show. That's who I always speak to is the guides. And they're not dead beings. They're what I would just call, well, they told me they're light beings. They're of source energy. They've never been in a physical body. They're pure light. You couldn't see them. They don't have eyes. They don't eat. They're not physical like us. They're a light energy source. So this is who I talk to on the board all the time. And I said, do you have a message for the Skinners, or do you have a message that you just want me to talk to them about the house? And they said, we want you to tell them something. So they have a kind of a message for you. They want us to have a discussion about kind of your threshold or parameters of where you are with this information that's coming to you. But the one word they threw out to me, they said, I want you to talk to them about fear. They said, I already know you guys aren't afraid. I don't think you come to this from a fear place. But I can understand now why they brought that up. From your backgrounds, probably in your religions, which is more like you don't use Ouija boards, you don't talk to spirits, you don't go in this realm. And I don't know your backgrounds, but they said just what you need to talk to them about is the whole concept of if you approach this from a fearful place, you constellate that fear in another energy that you're working with. If you approach it from a whole different perspective of I'm open and curious and want to explore, that's what you pull out of that energy. And I say energy, notice I'm not saying ghost, because I'm not going to label it either. And that's another thing they wanted me to talk to you about. They said the energies, they said it's like you are constellating, bringing that energy forth from that. If you show these energies you're not afraid, and it's okay to go, oh, trepidation, oh my God, I got to get out of there. But going, oh, this is a demon, or this is a haunted place. It's when you do that, then you start setting yourself up for failure or setting yourself up for limitation. They said, if you want to be a good investigator, they said you don't want limitation, thus you don't want labels. They said the other thing, they go, so Rodney goes, well, that's interesting. You know, this is the haunted castle. And we were just talking out loud to them. And they said, and Rodney goes, we need to think of a word that's the opposite of haunting. So we were thinking. I said, let's just ask the guides. And the guys said, we have a word for you. They said, the words you got to think about is that here you are in a space. And they said, oh, how lucky. This is what they said to you guys. Oh, how lucky you are to be in such a space where there's a convergence of energies. They said, we'd like you to use the word crossing. And imagine a cross where it's like you got two fields of energies. It could be more than that, converge together, almost like how maybe rivers and streams flow together and meet up. And at that spot is a very fortunate place to be. We get to be able to experience everything, anything, and all the possibilities. And they want you to be really open to not labeling it yet and allowing it to be more of the experience. And one of the things they said, they go, tell them they need to start right now, if they're not already doing it, is to start logging. They use the word log. Keep a log of whatever people experience here, what you experience here, or what our experiences are, without labeling it, but say, oh, a draft. Oh, I got this thought. Oh, I had this experience. Oh, the sheets were pulled off me. Or what's this, we got this white shadow, just all kinds of things, and just log it down without trying to go, definitely it's the haunting of a person that lived here that died. Because one of the things they talk to me about all the time is that spirit is non-local. Just because somebody might have died here doesn't mean they're actually here, and it doesn't mean you couldn't talk to them at your house where you live there. And often what I do before I go to an investigation place is I will tune into the energies that before I come and have conversations with them before I'm even in that space. So just know that energy can be anywhere, and sometimes it follows people around too. But I think if the big takeaway here is not to limit it and to be the best investigator you can be as you begin to keep pulling in more information. And you too sound like you both are really open to doing that and are doing that. You're saying it could be this, could be. You're listening to all these different possibilities, but yet not trying to ascribe yourself to one. And that's what I think I see a lot of these shows do. Oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And I'm like, wait a second.
Categorizing.
Yeah, and labeling. Once you label it, you stop the exploration. And you stop the investigation, because all of a sudden you go, I got an EVP, it's a ghost. There was a little girl that lived here. Well, maybe, but maybe it's something else. And maybe it's another energy trying to come through, but we limit it with our own perceptions. And again, we don't have the apparatus to be able to experience like what's beyond that spectrum or the different energies of that spectrum.
I always worry that I'm stifling something, like if something or someone is trying to communicate, and like the big example I always use is when people automatically say shadow person. Like, oh gosh, it was a shadow person. So I'm staying away from that. And it's like, well, what if it was someone you knew in life, or what if it was Aunt Millie, but now all of a sudden because you've decided, yep, that maybe that's just the way that Aunt Millie was able to
come back and show her. Yeah, I agree.
So now, she's not going to come reaching out again if you're like, oop, it's a shadow person.
Don't do that.
That bugs me. But I worry about me doing that too. Like anytime I, or judge any other kind of activity that someone else is experiencing.
So what I'm getting about this place, though, is that it is like I'm just using the word vortex. It's the only word I can think of that I know our lexicon would be like a vortex of energy, of a crossing of the energy coming together of all different natures. And it could be, we're not just talking two-dimensional, we're talking, imagine this being like a sphere, and it's all these crossing points within it, and this might be what's going on here. And that there's going to be so many energies, and I just use that word again instead of ghosts and spirits because I think it's so much more beyond that. And it could be the poltergeist, it could be the residual energy, it could be your own projections, it could be angelic beings or ethereal beings, it could be Sasquatch. I mean, there's so many things, right? So we just stay open to that. It makes that much more juicier.
Yeah.
And then you never really know. And then yet, I like what you were saying before about the artifacts.
Yeah.
Because I think if you say these are a collection of artifacts and logging what these artifacts are, I think you're gonna start discovering more of what the truth is for you and your experience here.
It's interesting you say about the crossing because
That's the word they want me to give you,
Lisa,
so it's specific to you because I wouldn't use that word. It has to do with you guys.
Well, which to me that kind of suggests the land more than any structural thing here. And Lisa or somebody recently was saying that it wasn't, or maybe it was one of the shows we were watching was talking about. It's not the house that's the issue. It's the energies that are in that particular part, whether it's ley lines or
and like outside when he's using his EMF meter, the only place it's spot is over here in the corner. And then when the sonar guy came, that's where he mapped out like the original house. Was right there, and that's the only place that the EMF spot.
I've got one of the mail meters that gives you the real numbers. And walk the entire property, and all through back there, I'd get either 0 or maybe 0.5. But that whole corner up front, it was 2 to 8 range, which the way I was taught, that's legit. If it's below that, it's nothing. If it's above that, it's nothing. If it's 2 to 8, that energy we can't account for as well. So that might be something that's paranormal. And then a month later, the guy comes out and does the sonar, and it looks like that's where the old homestead was.
Interesting. Now, could there have been, I always hear this too about the water in the piezoelectric, with the crystals or whatever. Is there anything like that? Piezoelectric, they call it, where the water goes through the...
That's a new one for me.
Well, stick around. We'll teach you some more. Teacher. But so I'm wondering, is there crystal bed here? Is there some kind of activity like that? Or is there water? Ley lines?
Limestone.
Limestone.
Lots of limestone.
There's a lot of
limestone.
That's limestone is what they say about Alton, Illinois. And
Limestone's huge for the conductivity, but what about, is there water running through there too?
There's a lot of wells.
We got a well over here.
But that spot.
But as far as that spot, I don't know of anything.
Or ley lines.
There's a creek back behind our property, but there's not any water that I can think of that would be flowing.
Which way's north around here? Get your phone out. I really want to know.
I think it's that direction. Let's see, the sun sets over there, so that's where.
So it's kind of north this way? No. Look, she's got it going this way.
Right.
That way.
North, south, east, west. Okay. They say, so some of the, I read everything and learn everything and take in what I want and throw the rest out. They talk about it for time and time again. You should lay in the bed north to south. It's better for your energy or something.
Yeah, that's how we were taught to do the.
They were taught to do that
balance the chakras. Yeah.
And so I think upstairs I'm kind of laying. Not really. I'm kind of laying south.
You lay east to west.
My husband
east to west more.
Yeah. Straight up sleep east to west.
Okay, that's why you're screwed up.
Okay, that's all right.
I always sleep. I don't plan it, but I always sleep north to south. Any home I've had, it's my beds. It's weird. They end up lying north to south. So anyway, just something. I think about all these things, but I'm just curious where north. But I'm also thinking about their spot back there. If there's, I'm just pulling it all together. Interesting. So your room you're in, are you? Which way is his bed? Oh, you're kind of sleeping more that way. I'm sleeping backwards. You're kind of going more. You're like this way.
Northwest-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more southeastist. So I'm gonna
southeastist,
northwestist, piezoelectric. Oh my God, that's great.
There was something else that came to mind when you were talking, and I'm blanking on it now.
Well, the other thing they said about the cross is there's so much symbolism, and I said, well, why are you telling me the cross? And I said, usually you bring up that word as somebody's more religious. And so I don't know. And they said, no, that's the word you can use. They said, I want you to think of it
I
as...
didn't even think of that when you said cross.
No, because when I showed you, I wanted to do equilateral.
Yeah, I guess.
See, instead of doing it like that, and so I did that on purpose. I didn't want you to get but I wanted to see where you guys would go with it. But then I started reading about the symbolism of cross, and it really is. There's so much. It's about like bringing the above below together, like in Hermetic sciences or alchemy, or it's bringing the masculine and feminine, the male, the female energy, the above below, heaven and earth, man with his divinity, and so all these things are they talk about with the cross, the tree of life, Jacob's ladder, the Kabbalah, all these different cultures talk about the sacred tree, and they go, yes, think along those lines. There's so many possibilities here. But they didn't say there's nothing that I've gone. They said, well, I think there's a lot more stories than might be fact or real. That's what they'll say. They didn't say. They go, imagine. They go, how lucky. Tell them how lucky they are. And that's the word they use because they don't really believe in luck. But I think it's a word that obviously you guys might relate to. Yeah. They didn't say synchronistic. So, but how? No, I think they said how lucky is it that they are in a place where things where these energies will cross. And they get to experience that and be so close to is what they said, and be so close to that crossing. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. It's more poetic than what I said, but they say it so poetically.
How specifically did you said you found this online, right?
Yeah.
How specifically did it come to you? Did it?
Well, it was
fall in your lap.
Like 10 haunted. No, I was searching. It was close to Halloween, so. Haunted houses for sale. I Googled that. 10 places.
Actually, you know what? I do that too. And I looked at that house. It was for $58,000 you posted.
Yes.
I really, for a moment, thought about, could I go get that house and fix it up? Seriously.
I would be there in 4 seconds.
See, so anyway, I do the same thing too. And I haven't taken myself seriously yet. But I was like, what the hell? You actually did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I've done it for years. And when I saw this, I thought, again, if it's 5 figures, we can afford that in the drive because, again, Judy's just great. She'll either be very talkative in...
How many hours again did you say?
9 hours. 9 hours. But you know what? You catch up on your podcast if you want to. I do coast to coast. I do all the
I'll try to work on a few more for you.
Yeah, exactly. We got to throw some more in there. No, but that's what you do in your drive, right? You can do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I grew up. We drove all over the place. We took, big trips out west in the station wagon first and graduated to pick up with a truck camper in the back. And so that was just the norm. I love driving, and Judy's a great passenger.
But you've otherwise had not much to do with this area.
I never heard of Brumley. I never heard of
that. To me is interesting.
Yeah. I know. Just like, okay, let's go out to the middle of nowhere and just go by this place.
I think Eureka Springs like 2 hours or 3 hours from here, so that's the closest we've been to this.
And as we're pulling up, we see the sign, population 91.
You're like, this is perfect, buying it.
It's just, we really thought we wouldn't be interested. We thought we'd get there and figure it was a waste, but, another nice trip. And once we saw it, it's just like, no. And I
both were like,
telling Judy, I said, I didn't expect this, but I want to buy this. Are you okay with this? And she's like, I kind of do too. I mean, just, the history and the antiques, and the place looks really neat. And and so neither one of us had to talk the other into it. It just...
I wanted to ask you all this earlier. When you walk back in after not being here for a month or whatever, what's the energy like when you walk in? Like, does it feel like it's been empty? Do you like dust first and then say, okay, now I can, do you feel like...
we usually, I don't know. I think
it
feels
welcome, I guess, all the time?
Different at different times. Like one time, there's only been one time that I've on the way here, I just started getting really anxious and just really nervous.
It was in June. I remember I saw my notes on that. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I just feel really odd as we're getting closer. I don't know. That was the only time I ever felt kind of strange. But usually when we get here, it just feels very normal. But we do like to, when we first come in, we'll walk the whole house and see if anything is out of place.
Oh, yeah, just in case, yeah.
The first time that we came back, after we've been gone for a little bit, we came back and we go upstairs and...
They had been doing work in the house, and so...
Oh, you had contractors in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
While we were gone.
And
that was maybe
this was
three
before the
first.
contractors, wasn't it, with the bird?
No, because we figured that's how it got in.
I thought it got in through, that or through in here.
Oh, okay.
But we go in, when the room that you're in, Judy starts to go there and she shuts the door and she says, there's an animal in here. And so I look and I think it's like a dead bird or something.
Before we get up there, though, we had saw something downstairs that was like had been knocked over.
Right.
And we were like,
okay.
"Oh,
what's going on?
What is that?"
And
And
then
then we get upstairs, and that's something else was knocked over in the turret room. And then we walked in there.
And
was it
a
dead?
hat that had been knocked off a feathery hat, but it was knocked off.
But I thought it was like an owl.
The room that you're in.
Oh.
Yeah, and we go in the room that you're in, and there's a picture knocked off, and we're like,
Oh,
man,
the bird was like,
they've been active.
Yeah.
The bird saw the hat and said, "You're my cousin."
Yeah.
We didn't know there was a bird yet. At this point, we don't have any idea there's been anything
Oh, so
in
they
here.
think it could be poltergeist or something.
Yeah,
we
we're
were
thinking that the ghosts are like, hey, y'all come mess with our house.
So he starts taking pictures of everything.
This is going to be good. I can't be sure about
Then
it.
we get to the last bedroom where the little girl's supposed to be in, and we find a dead starling in there. And then we get to noticing there's bird poop in different places too, so we had a nice little cleanup. But apparently
Nothing
they
to
got in,
eat.
but not out. So.
Yeah, nothing to eat.
Yeah.
And
but so we do, walk around. But I don't have it. I don't know. I've never felt. Once I got here, I've never felt anything, bad. I think that's another reason why I was okay with buying it too, because it doesn't feel. Like we've been a couple of places.
You wouldn't have bought it if you felt.
I felt.
Oh, it felt great walking in here. It just, it felt good to me.
So,
how about you, Patrick? What'd you feel?
I haven't really, other than just coolness and beauty.
Yeah.
In the street, like I don't feel anything that.
No, I don't get any
really
weird
There's
vibes or anything.
A couple nights where you haven't wanted to get out of the apartment. Usually things felt a little different, but usually I think it's because of something that we probably said or
probably
done.
so. And
But
there was one time I walked outside and I was fine. I was taking pictures and it was at nighttime and I walked around like all the way. I went out the front door and came back to here. And then like the very next night I went outside to do something and I just ran back in real quick and I was like, I don't know why. I just got freaked out.
Okay, yeah.
I just can't.
Would you stay here by yourself?
I would not.
Yeah. Would you?
I mean,
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he stayed here.
You
Like,
missed
I'll
that
stay
story.
inside.
On purpose, yeah.
Oh, on purpose.
He did.
Oh.
Like, he'll be outside doing, like, yard work, and I'll be inside by myself, and I'm fine with that. But, like, to be here, like...
You came here by yourself.
Yeah, because the only place I've ever gotten scared ever was here. And, this was... We bought the house, closed, and then we came up here right after Christmas, and it was Judy and I, and David came up with us. And so we're in the red room. David's in the room that you're in. And I'm exhausted. It's been a crazy week, long drive. And I said, I just got to get on to sleep. So it's, about 1 o'clock, fall asleep. Judy's still staying up. And I hear 5 loud bangs, like somebody's banging on that door between the 2 bedrooms. I sit
That
up
little
like
secret
this.
closet?
Yeah.
Oh, this will be fun.
I grabbed my 357.
Oh,
I think somebody's
really
broken
fun.
in. Yeah, I mean, I'm not thinking ghosts.
No.
That's a human noise.
Actually, you probably want a gun out here.
Yeah.
Look at this old-fashioned phone. Hello?
From Alabama, we've always got guns.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're
No,
going.
I know. Yeah, I figured.
So anyway, I get up, I search the house, and I get downstairs, and I realize, well, the alarm didn't go off, doors are still locked, so there's nobody there. And so I get back in bed, and Judy and I are processing, trying to think, what this is, no idea. The concrete walls, you can bang on those, and they're just dull thuds. So it sounded like the door. It was a noise the door would have made.
So loud.
So finally, I'm able to start getting back to sleep. And twice before I really get to sleep good, I get goosebumps all over. But I think I'm still worked up. That's all that is. So fall asleep, and just a little after 4, I feel my pillow get pushed in about 3 to 4 inches.
Oh.
And right behind my right ear, I hear a male voice go,
Oh, wow.
I said straight up again.
The labor
I got
breathing.
goosebumps when you told me that earlier. I was like, "What?"
And that's in my bedroom.
That's in
Yay!
your bedroom.
I can't wait. I asked for the most haunted room. Okay. I love it.
That's where we've hit. So, the rest of the trip wasn't terribly eventful. We get back home, and then I told you, so I got to go back up there. I've always wanted to stay in a haunted house by myself, but I've got to now because this is like a matter of pride.
It's a house of crossing.
It spooked me. I got to go back and face this, and so I came back up and stayed 2 nights, and nothing major happened. I got some neat things on the X-Cam, but no more banging. And I keep wanting to hear the banging again in Hatton.
Well,
Now, when we read through...
But noise in general, though, is pretty common, though, here, right?
Yeah.
Well, just today, we were saying that I'm in the apartment, Judy's upstairs in the bathroom, and I think I hear her call my name. And I got 2 new knees and a new shoulder, so I don't do any running unless it's an emergency. I ran over to the stairs because I had specifically told Judy, I said, do you want me to stay up with you, or can I go down and do some stuff? And she said, well, I don't think you really want to stay, but just have your phone. So I'll have my phone with me, and I'll come instantly if you call. So when I hear that, I reach for my pocket, and I hadn't put my phone in there. It's still 2 rooms away. So I thought, crap, she's already called. I didn't answer, so now I'm in trouble. So I run over the stairs, I holler, and she said, no, I didn't call you.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
There was a time I was sitting by the table in the
front door.
portal. Yeah, I mean the portal.
The portal. It's a vortex. It is a portal.
That real
We haven't
thing
gotten to
is.
that discussion.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm feeling like there's a portal.
I'm
Okay,
sitting
good.
there, and I'm doing work. It's like 2 in the afternoon, and I hear somebody sobbing back here. That.
Are you kidding
And
me?
so I get up because I think Judy's got a call from home. Somebody's sick. Somebody got hurt. And I come back here to ask her what's wrong, and there's nobody in the room, and she's in the apartment. And then I'm sitting at that table another week that we're up here, and the night before we had guests, and one of the guests was talking about she did the Ouija board or the pendulum. Do you remember the pendulum? And she thought she connected with a little girl, and she asked, how long she's been dead. And she said the pendulum just kind of jiggled. She said it's never done that. And she said, I thought, oh my gosh, maybe she doesn't know she's dead. And she said, do you know that you're dead? And it gave her the symbol for no. Mm-hmm. And so she said, do you want a hug? And she came over and gave the little girl a hug and said, I felt, like those goosebumps all over from the waist up. And so the next day they've left, and this is 2 or 3 hours after they're gone. I'm sitting at the table, and I hear a girl's voice behind me go, hey. So I think Judy snuck up on me, which y'all know it's hard to sneak on these floors.
Yeah, they crick.
I turn around and look, and there's nobody there. And I'm not thinking about anything except getting my charts done because we do electronic records, so I can do those.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
But so there's times that we've heard. I think I've seen the one person out there.
Oh, you saw somebody out there that you couldn't account for?
Well, I thought I saw somebody run behind me.
Oh, behind you. That was just the other night, you said.
And then I was sitting out there another time doing EVPs by the graveyards, and it looked like there were things going back and forth this way. White over here, darker over here, not real distinct images, but something upright and moving. We were walking in one trip, and as I come to the kitchen, I think I see Judy over in the parlor, but she's not there. But there's clearly a woman walking there. And then in the bedroom that you're in, I went in taking pictures one night, and as I passed the door, there's a lady to the right. And it's just a split second, and those are out the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
I just, I'm saying, was out the corner of my eye? And I'm haunted now, so I'm thinking about this stuff. So maybe, but I do all this stuff so often, and for it just happened.
Actually, only being in your year, and you've had these many encounters. I was telling him earlier, it's so rare to have that much. At least in my opinion, I do a lot of. I see ghosts too sometimes, and I got to tell you, it doesn't happen that many. I can probably count all that in my whole life on one hand. You're having it right and left here. That's pretty crazy.
But you're every time you're here, you're involving yourself in some kind of experiment or investigation, right?
Yeah, most of the weeks we were here early on were just pure work weeks in the day. We're out fixing things, putting stuff up. And then at night, I would do the X-Cam, do EVPs, do something. So I've never come up here without trying to do something.
Yeah, also you bought it for that reason.
So used to you trying to reach out.
Yeah. And that's my activity. I'm a lot of times I'll see spirits or ghosts or whatever you want to call them or energies, and I'm not necessarily trying to contact them. They just come. But sometimes I am. So it's interesting that, maybe you have a special ability or gift. Seriously, because that's not normal for people to get this much. Is it? I mean, do you hear it in your opinion?
And
I've never felt like I've lived anywhere that had just a lot of activity in it or any.
I think when they said the crossing, I do feel like this is a place where portal might be the word, or vortex, or whatever energy. There's I've been in another place like that before too, at somebody's house, and it was just crazy. I could feel the energy. I haven't felt that yet, but I could just feel all the different energies coming in and out.
So late that night, we did a bit of Ouija and some investigating. Then the next morning, we jumped into more paranormal fun. Plus, we toured the property outside the house and met a feline friend who joined us. And then there was the experiment that I enjoyed the most. We got out the spirit box and tried the Estes method. But all of that will be in the next episode, in part 2 of my visit to the haunted castle house. Oh, just wait till you hear it. But here's a sneak peek.
It's Friday the 13th.
Is anybody here with us tonight? Patrick and Karen. You like it when we have guests? Let's go to...
Just kidding.
We have a rule, Karen.
Actually, I'm not kidding. No, something down here.
Next to you.
Something
There's
down here.
one next to you.
I know. I could feel it. Seriously, I wasn't kidding. But then I had to play it off.
It just froze up.
What is going on here? Okay, I'm out of here. I'm out.
You wanted it, Karen.
Okay, I don't know if I do anymore. At this crossing of energy, but you're welcome. We invite you. We want to experience you, see you. We invite you into the space with us. And we thank you for allowing us into your space.
So far that I'm aware.
Bigfoot!
There was,
Bigfoot!
this is where I found the
Oh my God, I wish I'd have had your first laugh on camera. Because that... Oh gosh.
Atrophy?
There's a lot of medical stuff starting to come through.
There really is.
Are you in the medical field?
You're hurt. I'll help you. Next. Next.
Like a doctor's
Please.
office next.
It's Dr. Jones, Myron Jones.
Vertigo. He's suffocated. There's others coming. Doctor's help. Medical. First clean it. You're gonna get this. Doctor said it. That much right now. Keep touching. Stand back. No!
Thank you to the following super paranerds who support the show at patreon.com/BigSeance. Susan Davey, Jim Budd, Sonia B., Kim Robb, Natalie, David Rubenstein, Anne Marie Sullivan, Josiel Lorenzo, Genesis, Justin J. Justin, Bliss is My Muse, Paula Mitchell, and Amy Park Gedicke. My supporters at the Parlor guest level, who can be found at BigSeance.com/parlorguests are Linda of ShimmeringMoons.com, Denise Sia of Mystic Moms Paranormal, Ann Rekovich of OzParatech.com, Christopher Kohler, Diane Rax, Sharon B., Bruce Williams, Peggy Hagen, Marion Hover Clairvoyant, Lena and John of CarbonLilies.com, Nettie, James Wilfong, Dina DeCastro of Dina DeCastro Astrology, Glenna Becker, and Norman and Linda Keller. That sound you just heard was the above and beyond there's not even a category for your level of support fireworks display. Because I have 3 awesome listeners who support the show at the $10 level. Steve Skinner, Kevin Gilbert, and AJ Meredith. So thank you, Steve, Kevin, and AJ, and thank you, Paranerds. Additional music in today's episode is from the great Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit BigSeance.com.
You can find and subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and just about anywhere podcasts are found. Do you have any comments or feedback? Go to BigSeance.com/feedback to learn how to get your voice in a future show. Or you can call my feedback line, 7755-TELL-ME. That's 775-583-5563. Interested in learning how to promote and share the podcast? Go to BigSeance.com/share. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time.